you are live.
Good morning to Safari Live, all you wonderful viewers. It is Samuel Chevalier out here this morning with Wiem behind the camera. It is 15 degrees and 59 Fahrenheit, so it's freezing. We're actually in one of the coldest parts of the reserve at the moment. So I've got my scarf wrapped around my neck. I should have my beanie on, but I don't. But we are going down into a drainage line now. There was reports that there was a leopard at the Djuma Dam as well as a huge breeding herd of buffalo. So we're just driving in this area maybe to see if we can find anything. Thank you, Chris and John, for updating us with that information. It helps us so much to see what we might find on a live safari in the morning. So I'm not the only one out this morning on this live journey. We have Jamie Patterson as co-pilot this morning, and we're going to see what we might be able to find. It's the sounds of Crested Franklin's making quite a noise in the distance there. We're going to go down into this drainage line, which is, it's very chilly when you go into these areas because the cold, dense air sinks into that area. So let's drive slowly, see what we might be able to find this morning. At the moment it's been fairly cold this morning, and there's been no activity whatsoever. And I can imagine quite a lot of the animals are just hiding out behind some bushes, trying to keep warm. We've got our lights on, we've got our spotlights. As we come into this dip, we're going to see what we might be able to find. Potentially that big breeding herd of buffalo moved through this area and left maybe some sort of scat or something to show in what direction they might have gone. Big breeding herds of buffaloes often leave quite a lot of scat. Let's have a look down here. Nothing in these cold drainage lines. Sometimes when you come down into these areas, you'll find a buffalo just sitting up, trying to be warm in these thickets. Let's head up the hill and see what else we might be able to find. So we are on Twin Dams Road that comes towards Chelapan. So we are about to come around the corner to Chelapan. And yesterday's afternoon safari was just such an incredible journey that we had. From honey badgers to lions to all those elephants that were playing in the watering hole. What a special afternoon to have spent with all of you yesterday. And it's just another way of showing you how things can just automatically just change and grow. And I mean, how do you expect to see a honey badger? You just can't. Much like you cannot expect what might be a Chelapan. So we're just looking at Chelapan now. At the moment it looks very empty. Oakley from Oklahoma would like to know, with reference to that aggressive kind of sawing noise that a leopard makes, is there any kind of animal that makes a similar sound to that? Well, yes, you know, when that leopard makes that sound, it's very unique. It's very genuine to the bush. So I wouldn't say that there's an animal that makes a similar sound to that, because that's what gives away the leopard. That's when we're lying in our beds at night time and we hear that sawing, we know that it's a leopard walking on our property. But of course, some animals will make similar sort of sounds, much like the lion and its roar, or sometimes contact calls between the lions will have that very deep kind of tone to it. But that rasp, that what you get from a leopard, is that sawing is so particular that you just, it's so distinguishable. So I'm glad that you managed to hear that. I haven't heard it properly or seen it live for quite some time. I would love to see if we could find that leopard one day soaring like that. It's such a special experience to have. Hopefully one day we'll have that opportunity. But were you watching on the dam cam when it was sawing, or was it just drinking at the pan? I'm quite interested to know. Because that would have been fascinating if you saw on the dam cam. So you only heard the leopard. So the leopard didn't come down to the dam to drink it. It just made that noise. So that's really good hearing. Well done for hearing that sound and knowing that it was a leopard sawing. There's some crested francolins making a sound here. So it is quite a chilly morning this morning. We've got a little bit of water in this little dam here. So it doesn't look like a buffalo or anything have been there lately. Let's continue down to our drainage. What I'm also quite excited to do is also see if we can find any tracks crossing over Gowrie, just to see if maybe Karula's jumped into the scene. There's quite a lot of noise coming from this direction, so I just want to point out. I still haven't had a proper look at Karula and her cubs, so we're going to move in that direction and see if I can find any tracks of Karula's. So Dylan is quite excited to see Karula this morning. Dylan, so am I. I'm on the mission maybe to see if I can find any tracks crossing in. In the meantime, we're going to carry on down this very cold road of twin dams, and let's go and find out how Jamie is doing this morning.
Good morning and welcome to the windy portion of this morning's Sunrise Safari. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, my name is Jamie and I have Dave on camera with me once again. We're heading out into the fresh and somewhat freezing morning air. Now usually I would be wearing gloves, but Brent stole one of mine and never returned it. So whilst I could wear one glove, it just feels a little bit sad to have one hand warmer than the other. I'm just going to pop that there and be slightly sad about that situation in a very quiet way. Oh, for those of you who sent through the updates about the leopard sawing, we ended off our sunset safari talking about how wonderful it is when lions come wandering past our bedrooms at night and call in sort of the deepest, darkest hours. But I did hear that leopard sawing away, probably Tingana, most likely Tingana, definitely sounded like a male, that deep booming sawing sound. And I'm not going to imitate this morning because I feel as though my vocal cords might not be up to the challenge at this early hour. I've come along to check his regular pathways. So far he hasn't walked up Voyatella Main access, which means we're going to head back towards where I last heard him sawing and see if I can't track him from there. The thing about a male leopard, and from what I heard last night, he was very much on the move. He started up all the way close to Buffelshoek cut line and then worked his way south. In about an hour, he'd crossed almost the entire Djuma property. So he was walking with determination to mark his territory last night and to let everyone else in the area know that he was around. The chances of him or of a long tracking expedition this morning are relatively likely. So we'll see. We shall see how it goes. We'll see if we can't figure out where he went. And if we have no luck there, then we'll head across to Cheetah Plains. From Kruger, maybe even start moving back towards the Impala kill that she was chased off by Shumbambalana. And if that was all Latin, for those of you who are new to the show, I'm talking about the various leopards of the property. Nkanyeni is a relatively young female with two beautiful cubs that I have not yet managed to see. Brent had them yesterday on the Sunrise Safari. And Shumbambalana is a male and the son of a leopard known as the Queen of Djuma, Karula. He's her oldest son. He's one of her older sons, and he's just at the point of establishing himself. He has pretty much established himself, but he's still not quite in his prime just yet. I also haven't seen him. Oh, you know, we've got all kinds of leopard sightings to notch up. But since I'm here, and since the light is slowly starting, or the day is slowly starting to brighten, which means I can turn my car lights off, come to think of it, we're going to head across to the hyena den, just poke our noses in, see what's happening there. We haven't got to spend all that much time with them recently, or I haven't. So I'd like to just watch the dynamics play out, as well as to have another jolly good look at Madam, who I'm convinced Madam the matriarch of the hyena clan, I've always noticed her round belly. I think it's fairly impossible that she's pregnant. In fact, I know it's fairly impossible that she's pregnant. What I do think, and I've seen it with old hyenas before, is that they herniate the stomach muscle lining. Basically what that means is that they bulge a little bit more due to carrying several litters of cubs. And I think that's why she looks so... That and, of course, the constant gorging. Since she, as the matriarch of the hyena clan, she will be the best fed of the group. And that might also be responsible for her round belly. And you're also in for a treat this morning because Steph, when it gets a little bit lighter, will be out with Gendre on a bushwalk. And bushwalk is such a wonderful thing for showing you the wonders of the little things out in the bush, stuff that we don't necessarily spot from the vehicle, we don't get to enjoy unless you're on foot. So that is something that you can look forward to in the not too distant future. It's just still a little bit too dark to be wondering about. I mentioned earlier as we head to, or as we are going to be heading out to look for that leopard sawing. Casey, you were wondering if leopards have different sawing sounds, just like human beings have different voices. And yes, to their ears, absolutely they do. They recognize each and every individual saw, or if they don't recognize it, they know that it is an unknown leopard to them. So they will, our ears, because we don't really speak leopard all that well, unless you're a researcher, and I have heard stories of researchers being able to recognize hyena whoops of individuals and lion roars of individual lions and leopard sawing. I can't claim that level of expertise. I haven't had the opportunity to listen to enough leopards, or at least enough individual leopards calling to recognize them by their voices. But the only thing that we can tell the difference between is male and female. Certainly that's the only thing I can claim to tell the difference between. But absolutely, they will have different voices.
Good morning, mobile station.
And probably you'll find that they can adopt different tones as well, depending on their different meanings. Maybe a female adopts a slightly different tone when she's coming into estrus, for example. She's looking for a male to come and mate with her. Hello. Good morning. What you up to? How's your morning going?
Copy. Last audio I had of him, probably around...
There's a little bit of mischief there. Oh, here we go. We've arrived to provide entertainment and amusement for two rather bored hyena cubs. Oh, how brave are we feeling without the adults here? Here's a question.
Copy.
Which ones have we got here? Are these the January cubs? I think that they are. It's incredible how much they've grown. Hello? What have you got to say for yourselves first thing in the morning? Ooh, one of them's decided not feeling so brave. It's amazing to watch the differences in behavior from when the adults are present versus when they're not, which is, of course, a completely valid instinct. They look to the adults for guidance. If the adults are comfortable, then the cubs are too. But since there are no adults around, they're not quite willing to walk up and chew on my tires as they might otherwise be. Now I see movement. The thing I love about spotted hyenas, that expression of mischief and curiosity combined. Quite a great deal of intelligence as well in their expressions. Like they're summing us up. Not sure what conclusion they've drawn. Oh, getting brave. Here comes one of the older cubs who might decide to prompt them. Oh, there is an adult. I can't see an adult. The adults are here. We're just a little bit away from them, which is why the cubs are a bit more reticent. But here comes an older mischief maker. Oh, quick sniff. Good morning. Much bolder. What a difference a month in age makes. And as soon as one arrives, the rest follow. And then, of course, they find themselves in the position where our camera can't quite... Oh, yes, have a good chew on that bush willow. It is a rather unfortunate plant that finds itself around the hyena den. Cubs with teething problems. Okay, I've got one walking away from me. The other two, on the other hand, there's another one. So now we're missing one. We're missing one, and I can almost guarantee that it's underneath the car somewhere. Yes, okay, you go chew that now. Go find your buddy and get it out. Oh, I see you. I see you. Yes, I do. Hi. No, don't chew that. Good hyena. Sorry. I know you can't see it. I'm actually trying to find my phone so I can show you exactly what's happening here. Oh, it's just switched sides now.
Copy. I'm going to check central. Towards Rockensbeck.
Now, there is some interaction going on between adults at the back, but unfortunately we can't really reposition to go and have a look. Obviously, given that we've got hyena cubs wandering about underneath the car. There we go. Here comes Madam. Oh, yep, there's Madam is at the back there, and another adult female. Chasing another cub away, and I think she's come looking for her two monsters. Good morning, girl. She's one of the biggest hyenas I have ever seen, the matriarch of this clan. Just sitting quietly so that you get treated to the full, vast array of hyena talking. Look at the hyena on the right, how submissive it is with its ears back. There's Madam on the left, being much more dominant. Now, if you're watching hyena body language, ears back, tail tucked, it's obviously a sign of submission. There are slightly more subtle ones as well. The hyena that immediately presents its genitals for sniffing is most likely the more submissive one in the group, and there is a very strict hierarchy. It's a female, it's another adult female, and it is Corky. Have we got Corky there? Whoever it is, there's some very full-bellied hyenas. And it's not just about size in a hyena clan, there's also a little bit of attitude involved as well. Now, I think that little interaction has gathered all the cubs from beneath my vehicle. I'm trying to do a quick head count. Dave, you can't see anything on the left, can you?
Of the mount? No.
No, on the left of the vehicle.
Right, no.
No. Okay, we can therefore reposition. Give it a sec, just because I can't account for every cub. Okay, here we go. And as we loop around the den site, Joey, who's watching in Australia, would like to know if hyenas always den in termite mounds or if they ever den in flat ground. It It depends on where you are and what the circumstances are. Hello? Can I come through, please? I've got an interesting interaction about to occur here. Joey, can I hold off on the answer to that question, please? Just because we might have an interesting interaction on our hands here in front of us with one of the sub-adults. Not sure which one. Could well be June. There you go. Immediate display of dominance from Madam's cub. And Madam on the scene to investigate. I won't forget your question, Joey. I'll be with you in 2 seconds. Just want to see how this plays out. There you go. Some mutual genital sniffing. I'm not sure which sub-adult this is, since they have grown tremendously since I was last here. My initial thought was June, but it could actually be Bella. Which would make it a year and a bit year-old male. The previous son of the matriarch. Look at how dominant those little cubs are. Sorry, I know I'm in the way. It's one of those challenges of a hyena den. Hello, you. Very submissive. All coming to greet the newcomer. The den site is the sort of the central hub of hyena social interaction. Oh, sorry, got it. I'm going to have to shift my head to watch what that cub's doing underneath my wheels. Every now and again you just get the gentle scraping of teeth against one's bull bar. Isn't this wonderful? There's nothing like being surrounded by hyenas on every side. Right, Joey, to get back to you now, since all of our cubs have disappeared beyond the range of the camera, and we've got one very sleepy mother. It depends on the environment and what denning sites are available to spotted hyenas. Most of the time, they prefer to be in termite mounds. There is a chance that they might den in the crevices of rocks and in caves. Now, the Sabi sands, in this particular part of the Sabi sands, they don't really have that option. Oh, so cute and so full of mischief. Look at, this is a battle of wills here. A meeting of minds. Oh, a meeting of minds that is now over. Apparently I'm a little bit boring and our tires are much more interesting. Now, with hyenas, with brown hyenas, something that we don't often get to see here just because the habitat isn't exactly right, because they actually prefer to den in rock crevices and areas like that. If they can find a nice spot in a drainage line, even going so far as to climb up what we call koppies, which is basically a little mountain of rocks and boulders, they will go so far as to climb up to den in caves in those sorts of areas. So they tend to prefer, and they quite often den away from termite mounds, but a spotted hyena would prefer to be in a termite mound. What are you doing? Oh, I was going to try and video what's happening beneath me so that I can share it with you. I know that it's difficult for you to see. Yes, and you're going to come and be brave? They're all around me, but not ideal for videoing just because they're at the front part of the vehicle. I would guess that that's Bella that has come to join the matriarch. And somebody's been wondering about this, given the current socks that particular hyena is wearing. Now, Bella's story is an interesting one, because Bella is the son of the matriarch. Now, typically a hyena... Oh, am I being fascinating again? Hello. Yeah, I'm going to shift ever so slightly. It's okay. It's all right. I just want to take your photo. You do have such a photogenic face. Hi. And I'm going to explain why Bella's story is interesting in a moment. Oh, sudden flash. Let me just show you my incredible film work, just to give you an idea of their level of curiosity. You don't need my voice though, sorry. You see that curiosity. Always a bit of a risk though. You never know quite how fast they're going to move with your phone. To the females. The position of the son of a matriarch is an interesting one because they've... Oh, wow. Blue Butterbug's question in a moment. Madam's just about the fact that the other female... This is interesting. Leg of buffalo, anybody? Look at the strength involved in that. And she's just, in that one little interaction, established that as for herself and for her cubs. And most likely just for her cubs. At this age, they're still totally reliant upon her milk. But having a quick snack or supplement is so an enjoyable way to go. That was a wonderful little piece of interaction there. You can immediately see why we came to the conclusion that Madam is the matriarch of this clan. But also you get to see the behavior with spotted hyenas bringing food sort of samples back to the den site for their cubs, and only high-ranking females do it. But in this case, Hawkie lost out because Madam was still here, and she's claimed it for her cubs for now. But they'll probably only sniff and nibble at it, and when they get bored, then the other cubs will also have a chance to explore. You know, Madam's wandered off now. But the cubs already know their place, so even though this is a tantalizingly exciting arrival, they're not going to risk the wrath of an overly protective mom to get at the food before her cubs have had a chance to. Okay, they've decided that it's safe enough. I'm going to go shuffle forward ever so slightly just because they're hidden at the moment. Okay, Mommy. How's your view there, Dave? I don't want to push you much further.
No, that should be all right.
Perfect, thank you. Sorry, girl, you can go to sleep. It's all right. Oh, Bella has arrived. Interesting. Kick the cubs away. Oh, and now we've got some interesting interaction on our hands. Corky's going to go and look for her twins. She's chased Bella away. I did think that was a little bit brave of Bella. Now, the name Bella is actually Ntumbela, just by the way. He was named by Tara Perry, who used to be one of the presenters at Wild Earth. And that's why Bella has what sounds like a girl's name, but it isn't a girl's name. We did have a question about whether adult males will stay away from the den site. And it's an interesting thing because there's a lot of, and thank you to those of you who shared this article with me. I did read all of it, and I actually read the entire research article that they did into the way in which males in hyena clans will disperse or not disperse. And Blue Butterfrog, you were wondering about that, whether they stay around the den. So some hyena males will go off in search of better mating opportunities outside of their clan, but some will actually stick about and hang around their clan's den sites. And they become accepted and very much part of the family, and that could well be how we see the situation with Bella playing out over the next few months. He probably will become an established clan male, and clan males are very often an integral part of a hyena clan's social life. They call more regularly than the females, and because they are not related to every hyena in a clan, because not every hyena in a clan is related to each other, it means that there's not that much of a risk of inbreeding. And they very easily solve that problem because the females choose who to mate with, so they won't mate with a relative. It is one of the most fascinating and complex of all of the social mammals. There is another social mammal that is also fascinating and complex, and Sam has found some elephant for you.
So we are here with some elephants this morning, and we spent a long time with elephants yesterday in the watering hole, and now they are walking off into these thickets here. And they've just been feeding and browsing as they do for most of the night. As I said, sometimes yesterday we were chatting about how they can feed up to 16 hours a day, and for the rest of those hours they'll sometimes sleep, which is sometimes between 12 and 3 in the morning. And there's quite a large herd here. There's probably about 10 elephants that I've seen so far. They're just moving off into this thicket here. You can see there's still quite a large one right here. There he goes, off into the thicket on this coldish morning. The sun is beginning to arise over the horizon. I'm just going to move a few meters forward so that you can see this sunrise. There we go. You should be able to see through that little gap there. Beautiful. So let's move towards Steph and see how Steph's sunrise is doing this morning.
Good morning and welcome to the sunrise bushwalk this morning, and we're immediately going to open up with a quiz because Jean-Ray, with his brilliant eye here on the camera, has found something in the middle of your screen that isn't a dust particle. That is a spot between the Earth and our closest star, the Sun. And I'm guessing that it would be Mercury. But I'd love one of you out there to try and see if you can confirm it for us, please. As you can see, in the center of the Sun, there's a dark spot there. Jean-Ray is just going to move the camera slightly left and right, and that'll dispel the fact that it's a dust particle on our lens and is actually some object between us and the Sun. Can you believe it? We are here this morning watching the sunrise. We're standing on top of a termite mound. And the reason for that is because we're almost surrounded by buffalo and by elephant. There's a big elephant just in front of us over here somewhere. We just saw the back of his back rising above the sea of green that's in front of us at the moment, and we're going to see if we can get you a little bit closer to him. The wind is in our favor this morning. It's blowing from the valley back up into our faces, which is a good thing. We're going to see if we can get a little bit closer. But while we're taking our time just to get our bearings and try and see if we can find out where the answers to that, or to that sun where that spot is in the middle, see them coming through. I'm Stefan Winterboer, and on camera today is Jean-Ray, and running security for us is Hubert, who's behind us at the moment, trying to find us. Oh, here Hubert is right here. Let's give him a watch out there, Jean-Ray. You're going to fall backwards. Hubert is with us at the moment. You can stand there, Hubert. I just want to say hello. The widest smile on earth. All right, so Hubert is running security detail for us. So when we're walking, we're in a 3-man team. We are myself, a presenter, Jean-Ray, a cameraman in this particular case, and then Hubert is running security. And what Hubert does is he scouts the area around where we're presenting at the moment. We've obviously got earpieces in our ear, we've got final control speaking to us, and so we can't just be the two of us. It's a little bit too dangerous having just the two of us, especially when you've got lots of elephant and buffalo around like we have now. I didn't tell you where to send your answers to your questions. You can use two things. You can either use an email. You can send the email through to questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the Twitter handle, the hashtag Safari Live. and please see if there's some information around about what that was between us and the sun. I'd love to know, to be honest. My guess is that it's probably Mercury, and but it could quite easily be a satellite, a small satellite that's a little bit closer to us. But Jandre is just shaking his head. He says it's absolutely a planet of some sort. But it's more than likely Mercury. Mercury comes up and sets with the sun, and I'm thinking it's that. But to capture something like that on film is awesome. All right, so let's just do a recap of what we got at the moment. Right here, probably no more than about 100 yards from us, we've got what sounds to be like a herd of elephants. And if Jandre quickly pans down the road, you can actually see what led us to believe that the elephant are right here. You can see all the debris lying scattered across the road there. That's pretty typical of what happens when animals cross a road and they kick debris into the bushes. Then right at my feet, we've got a beautiful example of an elephant track. This is a female elephant track. She is going, this is the back of her foot, this is the front of her foot, relatively small track, but have a look at how crisp the detail of the cracks in her feet is. Absolutely sharp. That's because the sand has been compressed, and it will take a bit of time for the sand to lose its compression. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow on the sand, and you'll see how quickly a breeze can turn a very, very fresh track like that into something a bit older. You see how with almost no effort I was able to turn a very new track into an old track. And you can see then how crisp those tracks actually were and how fresh it actually is. We do have elephant right here. We've also got some buffalo. For those of you who kindly updated us this morning when we got back into final control, we know that there was a herd of buffalo that was at the pan busy drinking last night. And it seems like they've moved into this area at the moment. I haven't got any visual of any buffalo, but what I do have is a lot of oxpeckers that are busy calling off just on the other side of the elephant in this area here. Oxpeckers, as you know, they love buffalo. And good morning, Kathy. You want to know why do I refer to buffalo and to elephant herds as breeding herds and not just simply as herds? Well, in this particular area, we try not to use too much language when we're speaking on the radio. So you'll notice that you're on the radio quite often in the cars, updating people from various places on what's actually going on. And we use the term breeding herd when you are referring to a large group of animals that has babies, mothers with calves in them. Generally speaking, those are elephant and buffalo. We'd use a breeding herd when referring to an elephant herd. We'd also use a breeding herd when referring to buffalo. Sorry, it was just a big noise off to my right hand side and I didn't know what that was. It wasn't because I all of a sudden had a bee fly into my shirt. But nothing much, it just seems like something was spooked in the leaf litter there. Alright, so what I'm thinking that we do to get a better view of this particular elephant that I'd like to get a view on is I think we're going to walk through this thick stuff here. And we're going to see if we can get slightly in front of this bull elephant that we saw. The herd, he's going to be in association with a herd, it seems like. He's either a young, immature bull, or he's just a bull in association with a herd. Alright, so we've got some answers coming through from Robin and Aaron on the quiz that we've got. So it's either a sunspot or it's Venus. Yes, it could be a sunspot. That was Jandre's first guess at a sunspot. For me, I think it's a little bit too big. And I think if Venus is in the perfect position today to be between us and the sun, that it's quite possible to be Venus. Very, very possible. Although Mercury, Mars, I can't even remember the little song at the moment. Do you? Mercury, and then there's Mars, Venus, Earth. It's not Mars. I can't even remember my planets this morning. Too little coffee, too soon. All right, we're quickly going to follow on Jamie. She's got some alarm calls for you.
Well, we have rushed away from the hyena den, and forgive me, I'm not going to be looking back at you too often just for the moment, and that's because I've just heard a kudu barking that deep booming alarm call. I found her She was looking intently into this block, and I'm almost certain there's either a leopard or a lion in here. And it's just a matter of figuring out exactly where they went. We must have just missed her by those splits of seconds coming in through here. I'm really hoping that it's Sakani. Area that I saw her in. And we're just going to try and figure out exactly where she's gone. She's judging by the way that the kudu was looking, the direction that the kudu was looking in, and the way that it was reacting, standing still but barking its alarm call. The chance that the leopard was walking away from where we saw that kudu. Pick up on any tracks, but she might have changed her direction because she was seen. Keep your eyes peeled. Luckily I've got Dave on the back to help me spot some spots from a slightly higher vantage point. And we're just going to idle along. My suspicion would be she's taken that same game path through this block that we saw her on last time, where she flushed a civet, which means that she should pop out if she's walking along that route, not too far away from us. We've just got to get our timing right. Hopefully she hasn't gone to lie down somewhere. I say she like I know that. I don't. I just know that something scared that kudu, and it's got to be a big cat. Okay, now this just became interesting. Little one, that's not a good place to be. Where's your mummy? And how separated did you become? Oh, panic. Don't panic. Little baby kudu dashing off right towards where I think that leopard was hiding. It is a leopard. Just sit for one moment and listen. I wonder if she wasn't trying to hunt them. That might have been the reason for the alarm calls. And it might be why that baby was separated. It could also, of course, be that cheetah. We were looking for a cheetah last night. It was reported that it had walked around Philemon's Dip. And whilst this isn't a cheetah's favorite habitat, they are more than capable of hunting in this kind of area. It's nice and thick, so there's plenty of cover. So that could also explain what it is we're looking for. And it might also explain why we didn't see it, if it's that skittish male. Let's just go forward a little bit to where that game path comes out. Otherwise, I think a little bit of a walk might be in order as well. While we try and figure out what on earth is going on here, Steph had a mystery of his own to solve, and he's figured out what the dot in the middle of the sun is. Let's head across and find out what his answer to that question is.
All right, now we got another sunspot. Believe it or not, there are actually two planets between us and the sun at the moment, very close together. Venus just on the horizon, which was what we think the first one that we showed you, and then this one, which is Mercury, which was sitting just a little bit above it. So that's Mercury that you were just having a look. Have a look at how far above the horizon the sun is there. And then just below it and sinking into the horizon was Venus. So you're both right. We got a bunch of answers, and thank you so much. We ended up using a star app in conjunction with your feedback to decide what this is. So there you're having a look at Mercury, we believe, to be between us and the sun. Isn't that? Bethany has said that it was Mercury and Venus, which is probably the closest answer. Well done, Bethany. Thanks for the help. It's always awesome to learn something new. Isn't that absolutely amazing to see? We've got a planet between us and the sun. Think of how many thousands and thousands of years of said indoctrinated thought that was just confirmed with that picture from that camera. I don't know. I've had some of my most profound moments in the bush actually looking through telescopes and seeing what we've just seen today. It makes you feel very small and insignificant, and makes this space between the ground and the top of our heads, or at least the top of the tallest trees, the most special place in the whole universe. If you think about it, everything that we know, barring of course birds that are flying up, but everything that we know occurs literally from the feet we're standing on right now, this sand, to literally the top of that tree, in this band, only that big in the whole universe, supports a bunch of life. Amazing, hey? Right, so we've got, Hubert has just walked down the road while we've been playing with planets and cameras and getting answers to questions from you. He's waving frantically that something's over there, so I think what would be a good idea is to go through there and go and see what he's waving at us for. You'll probably find that he's located that elephant bull that we've been wanting to show you. But and we'll see if it's safe enough to approach where we're going. I don't like approaching elephant from the bottom of a hill up. It puts us at a height disadvantage. And when with elephant, you really want to be at that height advantage. Have a look here. This is where elephant slept and played last night. You can see their tracks everywhere. They've really started to change the road, basically. They dug out over here, throwing sand all over themselves. Alright, so back to our search of the Ellie. Let's see what we've got here. Just going to have a quick little conference with Hubert. Is that elephant down here? Oh, right. So Karen going down the road and then onto this one. So Hubert had found the elephant just while we were busy speaking about Mercury, just on the other side of these trees here. We're going to see if we can get you onto a termite mound and see if we can get the termite mound between us and the elephant. So let's go. We're going to keep our voices a bit lower now. And the reason for that is I don't want to spook this elephant. As you can see, the scrubby cover here is not going to give us the most help with an enraged elephant. Now with elephant, everything is about wind direction, cover and concealment. And we're busy using termite mound. I can hear him cracking branches. Alright, getting a bit closer now. I want to be on the other side of this buffalo thorn genre. So I'm just giving Gendre some instructions. Moving some sticks out of the way so that he doesn't get caught. Alright, we've got his back. it's not going to be the best view. What we'll do is have a quick look at him, and then we're going to reposition ourselves. And while we do that, we're going to send you through to Sam. Hopefully catch up with you a little bit.
3, 2.
Welcome back, everyone. I just thought I'd let everyone know this morning, much like we have with our vehicles, we also sometimes have some technical difficulties with our bodies, and my ear, which is not doing so well at the moment, seems to have closed shut. I cannot hear anything that's coming out of my good ear, and I only really have one good ear. So I'm going to go back to camp and see if I can just sleep it off, take some pills that'll help open my ear up, and rest, which I think I need. In the meantime, I hope you have the most fantastic drive with Steph and Jamie this morning, and we'll see you a little bit later for maybe only tomorrow. So I'll see you later. Cheers for now.
So we've snuck up to this bush just behind this alley. Big, fairly big male, not the biggest male. There you can see him reaching high up to snap that branch off. Look at that, everyone, on foot. Breaks that branch. Absolutely incredible. Now he's going to stick it in his mouth. You can just see his bum. So this is definitely a bull elephant that's in association to that breeding herd that we have. Got some more elephant around us. You can hear him chewing. Not the best visual. Let's see if we can get around him a little. If it's a bit more open and we've got a little bit of space, we can actually stand in the open. They're notoriously short-sighted. What you're going to do is go through here. Chandra, watch out, Jan. We're going to see if we can get a little bit more into the open for you. So, constantly keeping my eyes on a swivel. Let's see what we've got. Really fresh elephant. You can see here. This is just fresh made. Even still warm. Okay, here we can see this bit. Okay, just gonna stand right here where we are. At the moment he's unaware of us being here. Okay, so what he's busy doing is he's busy smelling the dung of a herd of elephant that were there. And they take intense interest in the breeding status of cows. And that's what he's busy doing at the moment. He's taking the smells from their dung where they've been feeding and giving them puffing into his mouth. Now he's just busy breaking some things. And we're going to try and do is just get in front of this elephant, see if we can get a better view from the front. But while we're doing that and sneaking around, sending through Jamie for an update.
We've got a really interesting scenario currently playing out here. We've come back to where I first saw the kudu that was alarm calling, and she's crossed back to where she was looking. She's obviously the mother of that little calf that we were watching earlier, the little calf that looked very scared and very separated and very anxious. Now, what split them up, I'm not entirely sure. Let me just turn that down.
Ja,
Sorry.
wie zeg het maar tegen? Nou, is het goed.
It's a bit loud.
Ja, oké, goed, dat thanks. Ik ben al goed.
Nice. If it is that cheetah, then it's probably disappeared into this block. But I've just been sitting here listening. I've been watching to see. She's gone. The calf is just here, walking in this direction or running in this direction. The female's just crossed behind us and has been moving through. Obviously, I don't want to go and interfere in any way, and I don't want to scare them, and I don't want to disrupt. If there is a hunt, I don't want to disrupt it from happening. So I've just been sitting, listening for alarm calls. So far, I haven't picked up on any tracks, and I think I'm going to do another loop around this block and see what we can see and see if we can't figure out exactly what's going on. I also don't want to go wandering in there and scare the baby kudu or scare the predator. Either way, it would be us interfering with whatever situation is playing out here. It could also be, although it's very unlikely, I've never had it happen with kudu before, but it could also be a false alarm. Maybe something spooked the mother and the calf and the mother ran off in different directions. Now, that is one possibility, but I've never experienced that with a kudu before. I've never had a kudu make a mistake like that. They're much less panicked than something like an impala, which do occasionally do that. So far, just hyena tracks up and down. Not impossible that the kudu was alarm calling at hyena. We know that they are fierce hunters, and if they were displaying predatory behavior, then that might be an explanation, but it seems relatively unlikely since they've clearly been gorging themselves on a buffalo, at least last night. Just by the way, on the subject of last night's events, if you were wondering what happened with that male leopard, Brent's found his tracks crossing out into Torchwood. He did go for a very long walk last night. He came all the way from Simbabili Dam, crossed through Djuma, and out the other side to the eastern part of our traverse. Okay, come on, Dave, let's figure out what's going on here. Oxpick is calling, but that could be from anything from the rest of the kudu to buffalo. Oxpickers being the birds that sit on the larger mammals and pick the ticks off them. I'm hoping this is not going to be another unsolved alarm call mystery. We seem to be racking them up recently. Except for yesterday. Yesterday we found the bird that caused all of the discomfort amongst the go-away birds. Oxpick is coming from. We're going to. I'm just listening to the zip, zip, zip sound of the oxpickers. They've flown right above our heads, so Dave can't show them to you. Could just be on their way to find a new animal to sit on. while we keep scouring this area. Let's go back across to Steph, who is still with his lovely Ellie bull.
So we're back now with this elephant. We've just managed to reposition ourselves. Aren't we in this fantastic, fantastic view of him? He's busy eating the roots of that marula tree that you can see. Very content, doesn't even know we're here, and that's exactly how we want to keep it. If you'd excuse me speaking into my microphone like I am at the moment, it's only because you're battling to hear me when I whisper. And I don't really want to pick up my voice and let this animal know that we're here. Isn't it just the most amazing thing to spend time with the world's largest land mammal on foot, a couple of yards away, completely unaware of us? I'm still busy keeping my head on a swivel around it, just busy looking. Lots of animals around where we are at the moment. Can't see any of them, but we can hear them. This elephant bull very content. I'm standing with my shape obscured by this buffalo thorn that I'm next to at the moment, and that's because man shape is actually quite recognizable. Elephant quite comfortable with life. They've obviously pushed over that marula tree last night sometime, and he's busy feasting on the fallen down branches and on the fallen down leaves that tree did. You can hear. This time of the year you're looking at about 80% of their diet being woody species of plants. And of course the Sabi Sands is well known for a winter refuge. He's busy picking up a branch and putting it in his mouth. That branch is probably about as thick as my legs are. Massive piece of wood. There you can hear that crack. Breaking that branch with his teeth. Busy looking around us. He's at least afforded us the ability of standing still, allowed us to reposition. Quite safe where we are. Like I said a little bit earlier, I quite enjoy being uphill of an elephant. I don't know, it probably doesn't do too much, make too much of a difference whether you upslope or downslope. I think it's more a question of me feeling a little bit better. Elephant screaming off to our right hand side. Now for those of you who are wondering why I look like I'm as nervous as a squirrel and have my head busy swiveling around, it's because the big five get their name, the big five, for a reason. They're the 5 most dangerous animals to approach on foot, and over many thousands of years they've cemented that reputation with much bloodshed. I've been viewing elephants on foot for many, many years, and right now we've got all the odds in our favor. We've got a very nice breeze coming from the elephant to us and moving away from him so he can't smell us. His vision is obscured by the food that he's busy eating in that tree. We've got some good cover, and we are far away from that animal. So he's probably, Sarah, just to answer your question, it's probably about 30 yards from where we are at the moment, 30. Now the thing about approaching animals over here, it's all about respect when you're in the bush and realizing that you're just part of the food chain. And Lynn has just asked me what I would do if he started to come towards me. Well, then what I'd immediately do is move behind this bush that we're in right here, and then we'd back away upslope. If he became aware of our presence though, the best thing to do with the elephant is to stay in the open. And although it's counterintuitive, you're just going to stand in the open. And while you continue to make distance between yourself and that animal, you're going to let that animal know that you're there. What you don't want to do is let an elephant come looking for you. Because quite often they're quite close when they find you. And then your decisions become limited. What we don't want to do is affect this animal's behavior in any way. Quite often, you reach this horizon when you're viewing animals like this, and they almost get to sense you. The bush starts to react to us being here, and they almost start to, with a sixth sense, realize we're there. And so the time is coming when we will back away here, so that we absolutely don't change this elephant, what he was doing. And I like to score walks. It's just something I enjoy doing. And a walk that's 100% for me is when we can view an animal close like this, doing what they do naturally and have no effect on their behavior. And that's what we're going to be doing now. I'll show you how to do it. We're going to go behind a bush, like this. And then what we're going to do is slowly move away. Upslope. We're going to slowly move away upslope, keeping the bush between us and the elephant so that he doesn't see our movement. And just to let you know, we're actually very close to our camp. We're actually probably no more than sort of 600 meters away from Djuma Vuyatela. Right now, we're moving away upslope, creating distance. And now, what I can do is I can start picking up my voice again, because we're probably now about 100 yards or so. The elephant doesn't even know we're here. You can see there in the distance, you can see him still feeding on his tree. So I'd like to score that full marks for that walk, or for that, we call it an approach in these languages, in field guide language. And that approach, full marks for that approach though. That animal's carrying on doing what he's doing normally. Alright, and with that beautiful visual of that elephant leaving you, we're going to send you over to Jamie, who's I'm sure got some updates on all those alarm calls she's been following up on.
Well, there's nothing more extraordinary than being that close to one of the greatest giants on foot. Truly is an exhilarating feeling, so I'm sure Steph's going to be grinning from ear to ear once he has extracted himself from his position. I can't find anything. I don't know what on earth upset those kudu. Brent is actually making his way into the area, since I can't be off the vehicle for too long. Now that poor Sam has come down feeling a little bit unwell. We'll keep checking carefully. We'll probably return to this area later on this morning, just to see if we can't figure out what tracks are around and what scared those kudu like they did. But in the meantime, I think we'll start to range further afield and see what other things we can find. Just see if we can't spot this female kudu as we go through. This is roughly where we last saw her. Dave actually managed to spot her. How on earth he did, I don't know, through these trees. If she's here, Dave will find her. Or I'll try. Dave's slightly higher. I think she's moved on. Oh well, might be one of the great unsolved mysteries. But let's see if he's got a bit more leeway to go for a long walk. Let's see if he can't figure out exactly what's been going on in here. In the meantime, he tells me that there's a very big buffalo herd crossing into Djuma. Well, let's head across there and see if there are any lions hot on their heels. So that is, the Nkuhumas were on a buffalo kill not too far away from that particular herd. And and they probably finished that all up by now, looking for their next meal. I suspect that the buffalo leg that we saw the hyenas with earlier, I suspect that that came from the buffalo killed from the Nkuhumas. I suspect that the hyenas went in after they were done and just grabbed whatever was left. This hat is lovely, but it's not doing much in the way of shading. They have found Tingana, by the way, on Torchwood. He did cover tremendous distance. He's now resting and relaxing just to the east of our traverse area. Joey, who is a viewer in Australia, was wondering, and it's a really good question, what would happen in leopard dynamics if two brothers from separate litters happened to run into each other? How would they interact? What would happen with them? And the example was Shimambalana and Quarantine, both of whom are the sons of Karula, but from separate litters. Shimambalana is older than Quarantine. It's a really interesting question. It's a dynamic that doesn't often occur, but it does occasionally happen, usually with males once they reach a certain age. It's around Quarantine's current age, it's around 4-ish, that they start to disperse much further away from their mother's territory, and usually brothers go off in separate directions. So once they've reached that dominant age, then they minimize the risk of running into another sibling. But when they're young, for example now with Quarantine, he could well meet up with Shimambalana, and sometimes they've even been recorded to share kills. Every now and again, what will happen is an older sibling might meet up with their mothers, who have new litters, and spend a bit of time with their siblings. It's definitely been known to happen, and it's been known to happen relatively peacefully. There's a degree of recognition amongst related leopards. That being said, there's no hard and fast rule. So that might be that Shimambalana in a meeting with Quarantine might decide that Quarantine's getting a little too big and respond aggressively and chase him away. Generally, fights between male leopards are relatively rare. Mostly posturing, lots of growling, lots of what's called lateral presentation. So standing sideways on to intimidate rather than to risk injury by actual physical fighting. The answer is we don't really know what would happen. Sometimes the interactions have been peaceful, that have been seen, sometimes they've been aggressive. It just very much depends on the leopards and the age of the leopards and the level of competition. If a female is in estrus in Shimambalana's territory, in this scenario that we're painting, and Quarantine comes bumbling through by mistake, and that automatically increases the chances that Shimambalana might be more irascible in his response to the presence of basically competition. But generally those sorts of instances are relatively rare and they'll move off. And you see it with females as well. We can extend this scenario to what happens if Shadow and Tundi meet. And usually with related female leopards, they growl at each other for a while, same as with the males, and then they go off in their separate ways. Not often that two females that are sisters or mother and daughter will actually fight each other. Sorry, I stopped for some arrow-marked babblers, but they're proving to be a bit camera shy. We don't often get to put them on camera, the arrow-marked babblers. It's a type of bird. This morning you might have noticed that I'm sneezing every now and again, and my nose is slightly blocked, and that is because there is dust flying everywhere. So Dave is going to give the windscreen a quick wipe. Probably not the official terminology. It's called a lens, isn't it, Dave? It's not a windscreen. The windscreen a wipe. I've been doing that all morning. From the moment I woke up this morning, my speech brain path has been misfiring spectacularly. And I tried to say Rebecca speaks, and I called Rebecca Respecca, and so on and so forth. So, you know, first of all, Rebecca's acquired a new nickname, and second of all, I appear to have forgotten how to talk on this cool and misty morning out in the bush. It does happen. The early hour does play games with one's synapses. They start to misfire. Hello. Found a buffalo. On a breeding herd of buffalo. How many of you sent through that update about that enormous herd that we saw yesterday, and the fact that they went to go and have a drink at the Juma Pan last night. It was an absolutely enormous group of buffalo, and I wonder if this isn't the same group. It's unlikely. Buffalo generally don't really move in circles necessarily, at least not small circles. Heads just emerging out of the foliage. Hello. Oh.
So for them from the media, they must come in the block.
Now, when Brent called this herd in, he called them in even further away from where we are now, which means that there are lots and lots of them. Could even be close to 1,000. That's not the droopy, oh no, not quite. It's not the droopy horned female. There's one female that hangs around this area with incredibly identifiable horns. Just gonna sit here patiently. Imagine how easy it is if you're a lion to follow a herd of buffalo. Hello, girl. Such hugely entertaining animals. She's wearing a hat made of a tree. She's hidden. She thinks she's hidden. She's camouflaged from us. Are you also struggling, Dave? No. It's very hay fever inducing weather, this. Uh-oh. We appear to be blocking the way. I'm just going to have to move out of the way for a second. Come on, Wendy. You can do it. You can do it. As we just reposition to allow this vehicle to come past us, and since we're not going to have the best view of the buffalo for now, Will Yingling, no? You were wondering about what the rationale is between Yingling, Will Yingling, sorry, I told you, the speech pattern is not working terribly well. You were wondering about what the rationale is of doing game drives at dawn and dusk. And you've absolutely got it spot on. It is because more animals are active at those times of day. It's a little bit cooler, so you've got the daytime animals moving about before it gets too hot. And it's cool enough that the nocturnal predators, the lions, the leopards, are still moving about. And that's why we do our safaris at that time. In summer, it makes even more sense because in the middle of the day, you're looking at temperatures well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And I can promise you that you really, really do not want to be in the baking African sun in the middle of the day in summer doing a game drive. It's just, first of all, you're not going to see anything because everything's going to be hiding in the shade. But second of all, you're going to find yourself with a serious risk of heat stroke. As we wait for our buffalo crossing point and see if we can't spot any of the young calves or possibly any lions following behind, Steph has found some stripy animals to show you.
Look what we found for you. We found a a dazzle of zebra that's busy feeding on some grass in conjunction with some wildebeest that have now moved off. But it's always a good idea to practice your stalking. Remember what I said maybe 2 or 3 days ago, for those of you who are watching, that to practice sneaking up on the dangerous stuff, you've got to really try and get close to these guys. They're super vigilant. Quite often, wildebeest and zebra are in the same herd, and they complement one another. The wildebeest like to eat the tall grass, zebra like to eat the short grass. Zebra are more vigilant than what wildebeest are, and so it benefits one another. What we're going to try and do is sneak up on the zebra. At the moment, their bums are basically towards us. And that'll give us the opportunity to sneak right up there. And while I do that, I just want to answer James Richards' question from a little bit earlier. Is there a special bush or tree that we can only get to on walk? James, you've got two answers to that question. The first and easy one is, no, not really. The roads here generally crisscross all over the bush, and you won't find any specific type of bush being excluded by a road. But there are definitely unique places that you can only get to on foot. Unique little forests of trees or collections or glades or secret places on drainage lines that are only accessible by foot. It's almost like a two-way answer, that one. So yes and no, basically. Right, we're going to use what cover we've got. We're going to start sneaking up these guys. And then Justin has just asked, looking at a donkey, I suppose, or looking at the zebra, I suppose, do we have any wild horses here? And Justin, no, we don't have any wild horses. There are wild horses in South Africa, and they occur probably about 400 kilometers from here, but not in these game reserves. So now we're a bit closer. Definitely, as you can see, the best line of approach is going to be with this termite mound and this clump of bush on the side. And we'll part on the other side of it. We'll be a lot closer to them. Now, they've seen us. I think it was us taking a gap in the trees, and I'm going to show you now. We'll approach over the ridge of this termite mound. There you can see the zebra just running off into the distance. The escape genre there. Let's go around here. I still don't 100% know who or what we are. But you can see through the trees over there, the zebra and the wildebeest together. You can see them looking off to the one side that they don't really know what we are. There's one looking at us right now. We call it comfort zones with animals. Comfort zones happen with animals whether you're in a car or you're in a vehicle. The difference between being in a vehicle and being on, or whether you're on foot or in a vehicle, let me say. The difference is between us being on foot and in a vehicle is the comfort zones with animals are a lot smaller when you're in a vehicle, a lot wider when you're on foot. So their alert zone, which is what we're in at the moment, they're alerted to something. They stopped what they were doing, and now they're busy scanning their surroundings, is where we are at the moment. And you can see, definitely not eating anymore, not feeding. So, with us coming through here and walking up to these animals, Eileen from Ontario has asked a nice question. Are there any birds that give alarm calls for us? And absolutely. oxpeckers will absolutely alarm call at humans when we are close to animals like that. As soon as we start to sneak, animals can see that. So when I'm hunched over and making use of cover, quite often oxpeckers will spook up and those animals will get a fright and move away. And I think that's exactly what happened to us now. That Chandre's aerial was poking up over the top of that termite mound and waving, and one of the birds looked up and saw that, spooked, and that spooked the first zebra. And as you can see, the other zebra are not quite sure what we are. They didn't even know we were there. But what about us using this tree here as some cover? See if we can sneak up a bit closer to them. Give you a nice view. They're definitely alerted to our presence at the moment. They're fairly comfortable still. I'm just going to put my back to them. There you can see the wildebeest. I have no doubt that these are part of the same herd that was living on quarantine and had all those babies, those 9 or 10 babies. And Kelly C, probably noting my overwashed shirt that I have on at the moment, has asked a very good question. How much does the color of clothing affect your ability to approach these animals? So the least reflective of the least reflective your clothes are, the better you are at hiding in the bush. And you want neutral colored clothes. At the moment, my clothes or my shirt is probably about as neutral as what this dead tree is over here. But we do try and wear neutral colored clothes that fit in. Even better than that would be clothes that have patches of darker color or counter shading, and that would break up my profile. And even better than that would be a ghillie suit, as they call it, or something with tangles of material all over it that allow my man shape to be broken up completely, or allow the silhouette of my arm to be broken up by counter shading, by tassels of material, camouflage netting or whatever it is. So you do get different grades, but what I'm trying to do is move away from very reflective clothing. But the color, not really. I've seen a lion react to a bright orange t-shirt, and that was about the only thing that I've ever seen a lion react to in terms of clothing, was a bright orange t-shirt on the back of a car. We've got some nyala entering the fray now as well. Behind that tree there, they might just have gotten some nyala bulls that are moving into this gathering of animals that we have here. This is quite common for this part of the Kruger National Park, is these gatherings of different species of animals. It's nowhere near what you're going to find in the Serengeti and in places like the Masai Mara in Tanzania. The reason for that is quite simple. It's here the vegetation and the fact that it's hilly breaks up herds into smaller groups and into concentrations of about 10 head of game per hectare of land in the Kruger National Park is about the average. 10 head of game per hectare of land. In places like Ngorongoro Crater and the Serengeti, it can go up to 100 head of game per hectare. But mull over that, we're quickly going to send you over to Jamie, who's got some baboon.
Hey, we've got an animal that we hardly ever get to see. I've never responded to a baboon sighting, but I have today. Okay, let's try and sneak up a bit closer. It's so wonderful. We're seeing more and more baboons as time goes on. They're not very relaxed around vehicles, so we'll have to try and play this carefully. They're squealing and dashing about. No, don't all run away. Oh no. No, don't go, don't go. Okay, let me stop so Dave could show you. go. At least one of them is slowed down a little bit. With those hard, what's known as ischial callocytes, the patches on the back of the baboon's bottom. They play a very, very important role in their reproductive. And I think if we just sit here, actually, we might be lucky enough, they might relax a bit and start to emerge. Got one. Excuse me. Yeah, they're all dashing about. They're actually playing. Has that one got a baby hanging underneath her? No, that's just her fur. Hello, you naughty creatures. Wonderful. This is actually a very rare sighting at the moment to see chakma baboons, and they're having an absolute field day with the guari berries. I've just been discussing the possibility with Dave at the fact that maybe, just maybe, the kudu alarm call was at baboons. It's not unheard of for large male baboons, which are the equivalent size of a large male leopard, to take on and kill a small or young antelope. It's unusual though, and it's very unusual for kudu to alarm call at baboons. But the drought has seen all kinds of rare behavior, so maybe that's why. Here you go, using those very well adapted hands to pluck the berries from the guari trees, or even inspecting some of them. Better make sure that you get the ripest ones. Oh, there's a good patch. Sudden emergence. There's something so recognizable in their expressions. And Deborah, who is our armchair traveller, has said this is the first time that she's ever had a good view of baboons on our live drive, and it's absolutely the best sighting of baboons I've had since I started working in this area. It's bizarre. I never thought I'd say that. I certainly never thought I'd respond to a baboon sighting called in on the radio. But in the last, at least the year that I've been working here, baboons have been exceptionally scarce. We hardly ever get to see them. Apparently, the regular viewers, or the sort of the more long-term viewers of Safari Live, have told me that they used to see a troop of baboons that they nicknamed the Gowrie Gang on a fairly regular basis. But that is no more. That's largely due to the drought, most of them moving to the riverine areas where there's more fruit trees, better food options, and better foliage cover. There's that typical baboon swagger, back legs falling outside of the front legs. There's still more. I'm really hoping that we'll get to be able to show you a large male baboon, because a large baboon, large male, is an incredibly impressive specimen. Their canine teeth are larger than those of a leopard, and even a leopard will think twice about taking on a baboon troop that is guarded by a big adult male. There's still one. Hopefully she's going to move out into the open. The baboons have a really interesting social structure. It's called oligarchy. An oligarchy is basically a group of dominant males, sort of 2 or 3 very, very large males that will guard the group and protect them. And they do take on a very fatherly role, even to offspring that are not their own. I've heard of baboons rushing back to protect babies that have been caught by leopards, and, well, leopards are generally the only animal, or even trying to rescue them from the clutches of a crocodile. I saw the most incredible documentary on a male baboon that tried to go back and save a youngster that had been caught by a crocodile, which is an incredible sign of bravery. Now, there are lots of little mongoose dashing about, little dwarf mongoose. There's a slender. Oh, it's a slender. Oh, wow. We've got 2 rare animal sightings in one. We hardly ever get to see a slender mongoose, and it's only because we're this far away that we are. You can see even now, looking back at us. So how did I know that was a slender? Much, much longer tail They've got a tail that extends about 3 times the length of a dwarf mongoose tail, and it is tipped with black. I'm going to try sneaking forward. Hopefully they'll let me, because there's still some playing about in the guarri bushes off to our right. And as I said, I'm really keen to get to show you a large male baboon. It's a pity the light isn't great for looking for tracks, otherwise I would be able to show you some really clear baboon tracks in this area. Okay. Don't go. There's a biggish male. Not quite full-sized yet, though. They've obviously found something wonderful underneath the guarri bushes there. Plucking away industriously at the berries. Here's a little one at the back. Oh, this is so exciting. Now, in most other places that I have worked, baboons are actually quite a stressful animal to have around. They get used to people very quickly, and they very, very often raid the various kitchens or dustbins or whatever they happen to have access to. And of course, there's the famous story about, I think was it the Singita or the Londolozi glass doors that the baboons kept working out how to break open, and cost the lodge somewhere in the region of a good 50,000 rand in repairs. And they can be very bold, very clever. I remember being in a place called Sun City, and I will finish that story in a moment, sorry. Let's send you back across to Steph, who's doing more animal stalking, and see if the wildebeest have spotted him yet.
Well, contrary to what I've actually been trying to do is sneak up onto these wildebeest, we've actually just walked into the open, and it's had the most amazing effect. Yes, we are about the same distance away, but they've stopped and are giving us warning calls, and I think the only reason I can have for behind it is the fact that they absolutely know that they can get away from us with the least amount of ease. I'm sure they're looking at Gendre's cars, wondering if he can do the 0 to 100 sprint in 3 seconds. Probably isn't too far from the truth, but the reality is that these are plains animals that are geared specifically to running long distances very fast. And I think us standing in the open has literally just given them the reassurance that we can't catch them no matter what. There's no more cover to hide behind. They're slowly moving away from us at the moment. As you cut to us, you would have heard them giving a few alarm calls, or you would have seen them blowing at us and looking at us directly, and that was just them telling us, hey, we've seen you and we're not scared of you. It's actually quite amazing. You learn something new about animal behavior every day. And on that note, we're just going to send you back to Jamie and see what else we can find.
Can you believe we are still with our baboon troop? This is so exciting. I'm so glad I took the chance of coming here, because Brent called them in and I sort of had to toss up whether or not they would still be here when I got here. Luckily for us, they are. Oh, I was going to tell you the story about a place called Sun City, which was started by Sol Kerzner back in very dark days of history in South African politics, but a place where before gambling was made legal, where people could go to gamble, but it's now become a holiday resort. And I went there once as a small child, and I remember sitting on the deck chair next to the pool watching a woman drink a pink milkshake. And this baboon came by so fast, snatched the pink milkshake cup out of her hand, sat down in the pool lounger next to her, and proceeded to drink her milkshake and pour half of it down its front. So she was left watching this baboon covered in bright pink next to her, and I can't quite fully convey the humor of that particular sighting, but it was truly incredible. Dave, let's have a look if we can. We move. Oh, here comes big boy. Hello. Still not the biggest male I've ever seen, but large enough. I was going to say, we've got some on our left here as well. This is so wonderful. Peekaboo. Yes, we see you. And Joey, you wanted to know if there's a chance that we could be seeing this troop more regularly now that they've moved, or if they are moving into this area. I've just been thinking the exact same thing myself, because I'm sure many of you have noticed, and Joey, I'm sure you're amongst the viewers that have, that we've been seeing more and more signs of baboons, not necessarily baboons themselves, but tracks and evidence that they've been around. Mostly around Treehouse Dam, we've had the most regular sightings. Can you actually see that one that's sitting there, David? Would I have to go forward for you to be able to see it? It's sitting just to the left of that main guari bush patch. It's okay. It's all right. Don't panic, baboon. Just stick around. So, Joey, it would be interesting. We've certainly seen more of them. The drought could well push them back into this area, since there is water here, and therefore a good place to be. They might just be passing through because it's a nice guari bush patch, but I'm hoping that they might decide to move in for a little while and come and join us. I mentioned that they are something of troublemakers in certain areas, but birds are free. You were wondering if they've ever come into our camp. The answer is no, not while I've been around. I'm sure it did used to occur with the Gowrie gang on a regular basis. But from our side, since I've started working at Wild Earth, no. The only two primates we've had in camp are the monkeys on a pretty much daily basis, when they decide to come through and see if they can pick up on any rusks left on the table for breakfast or anything like that. Usually waking up whoever happens to be having a lion on their morning off by pounding their way across the tin roof. And then the bush baby as well, that fell out of the tree one day and landed at the base of the hut that Connor lives in. But no baboons. And it's not really something we want to encourage. We're exceptionally careful with the amount of waste that we use, and making sure that we keep the dustbins well protected and closed off and away from prying little hands or jaws or whatever else happens to decide to wander in, like the hyenas, for example. And obviously we don't want to encourage them becoming more familiar with human habitation, because that in turn becomes a risk to the baboon's life. I was speaking a little bit, I know we don't have the best view, but I was chatting earlier about those calluses underneath a baboon's tail around the genital area. So they are called ischial callusites, and they can be very, very brightly colored. And what they serve to do, because primates, of course, do have exceptionally good color vision, what they do serve to do is to sort of let every baboon in the area know what the reproductive status is of that particular baboon. So they become much more swollen. Oh, it's okay, calm down. Oh, I'm being watched with serious concern here. James Richards, you were wondering what the average size of a baboon troop is, and they can be absolutely enormous. You can get them up to about 40, 50 individuals. Again, it's area dependent, and it's dependent on the amount of food, the suitability of the territory, and all kinds of factors like that. But if we take the area that we're in now, you're probably looking at an average of between 20 to 30 individuals. maybe even less in this particular area, just because it's not quite the best territory for a baboon troop. And I must say, I've missed their barking and screaming. They've got such a wide range of vocalizations. That deep, booming bark, wow, that I've always come to associate, or I have come to associate with the African bushveld. So it's lovely to see them, spend a bit of time with them. And I have a confession to make. And you'll have to keep this a secret, because I was quite a tomboy as a little girl, believe it or not. I'm sure that comes as a tremendous surprise to all involved. But there were two animals that I was particularly scared of. One was monkeys and one was baboons. And that was because in my childhood years, I had encounters with both of them. And when you're a little girl, a baboon is a very big thing, especially when there are lots of them. My cousin was bitten by one when she decided that a little baby baboon that was sitting on the ground had been abandoned by its mother. And we were very, very young at the time, but we didn't know any better, and she decided that she was going to go and give it a good cuddle. And that unfortunately ended very badly for her, and ended with a series of rabies shots and tetanus injections. She's absolutely fine, but it did instill something of a healthy respect for baboons. I said that the males can be exceptionally large and quite scary. I once took out the rubbish in an area that we were staying in the Drakensberg, which, by the way, if you ever happen to come and visit South Africa, I would highly, highly recommend going and paying a visit to parts of the Drakensberg. I was taking out the rubbish to the tip, and a large male baboon came, knocked me over, and took it out of my hands. So as a young girl, I definitely had a healthy respect for baboons. I've had them jump in through my car window before, jump over my lap, take a sandwich out of my hand, and jump out the other side. And in Cape Town, there are some famous troops that have been known for actually breaking and entering people's flats and houses and raiding kitchens. They're just very intelligent and very interesting animals. Now we are on the main road, and poor old Jim Reeves has been trying to get past us for the last half an hour or so since we arrived at the sighting. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and pull over. Hopefully our baboons, discipline. Hold on. Little bit of internal dispute there. That's probably a male disciplining a juvenile of some description, whether it be male or female. As I said, they take a very strong parental role. That extends to discipline as well. We're just going to shift ever so slightly out of the way. And while we do, I'm going to send you back across to Steph, who has managed to track down and stalk a butterfly.
What a fortuitous series of events has just happened over the last 2 or 3 minutes. We got chased out of where we were by a buffalo, came running down the bank where we're standing at the moment, and chased us onto where we are now. We needed to get into a bit of a safer place. And just as we got there and started to realize where we were, we found a resting citrus swallowtail. This is the largest butterfly that we find in this area. It's a butterfly. And because it's quite chilly this morning and overcast, there's something running behind us. I think it's zebra or wildebeest though. But anyway, today's got us all spooked. Because it's cold today, this butterfly hasn't really got going yet. And it's giving us the most. There's another buffalo there. Sorry, we're being ambushed here by almost everything. I want to show you this buffalo. Come through here, Jean. I actually just want to make sure that we're not going to get ambushed again. I just want to climb up onto this termite mound. It seems like 2 or 3 buffalo have started to come into this area for some reason. There's just one I can see. He's probably no more than 10 or so meters from us. He's probably going to come out onto this game path here. We're relatively safe where we are on top of this termite mound. But this has also allowed me some height. So while we look for this buffalo, Jamie's baboons are running away, so before they run away and disappear, you're going to go back to her.
You've arrived just at the right time because our baboon troop is on the move. Racing across the road. We've just had about 20 of them run in front of us, so this is a very, very large troop. Here comes a straggler. Come on, better catch up, buddy. I think this one does actually have... Oh, no. The one that you saw across first did have a baby hanging underneath her belly. That one looks pregnant to me. Exceptionally so. Very caring, very nurturing mothers, just like all primates, particularly the New World monkeys. Let's try and reposition. That was the last of them, and I'm hoping we can still get a view because they actually haven't gone too far. They've just moved out of the open. I'm hoping... Sign of the year. Yes. Let's try a different view. We're all wandering about behind that knobthorn, the fallen tree. This is extraordinary. My first proper baboon sighting since I started working here. Dave, this must be your first one as well.
Yeah, sure is.
This is wonderful. This is the most time we've got to spend with baboons in a very, very long time. I wonder where they came from. Which particular area? Of course, you can't really fence a baboon, a primate. They don't really bother too much about such barriers. They can easily hop over any fence. So they do stick around. Those dexterous tails. Here we go. Hitzman, you're on the same wavelength I am. You were wondering about the baboon's tails and if they can use it to grip or climb to help them. Not quite as dexterous as a monkey's tail, but nevertheless, yes, they can use them. They don't quite curl and grip in the same way a monkey's tail can, but they can use them as a balancing tool. And occasionally they can anchor themselves with their tails. And you were on exactly the same line of thought that I was going down. I had a long and very bizarre discussion with VM, as one does. And Dave's chuckling away just because he knows. And we basically came to the conclusion that if it were normal, we would prefer to have tails than to not have tails. Tails like a monkey's tail. Just imagine all of the things that you could do with it. You could hold that extra cup of coffee with it as you open a door, or you could use it to help you climb. One of those bizarre thoughts and bizarre conversations that one has whilst watching animals. It seems as though Brent has joined the party, and we do, of course, have him to thank for the baboon sighting. Let's head across to him and his stripy donkeys.
So it started off as a beautiful, gorgeous morning. It's now come a bit grey and dreary. But one of the nicest animals to look at in the grey and dreary conditions are the black and white stripes of a zebra. So it looks like two young stallions here that obviously are not quite old enough to defend a harem of their own, so they're hanging with the impalas. So unfortunately, Sam is a bit under the weather. So I've jumped in to Sam's seat and we'll be with you till the end of the drive. And again on the sunset safari. Do you hear that, Vian?
Yes. She's not rotting.
Listening. There's some snorting impala. Trying to figure out whether they're just chasing other males or there might be something around. But just judging from the rest of the animals' reactions, the other impala and zebra here have barely lifted their heads, so it's probably just a male snorting at another male. Okay. Oh, what has VM spotted? Ooh, nice, VM. A good test for the birders this morning. So, whoops. There we go. Look at the general size, shape, and impression. Now, when he turns his head sideways, look very, very carefully. Oh, off he goes. There's a pair of them. There's another one still there at the beak. And if you notice, there's some it almost looks like whiskers around the edge of the beak. And it's a diagnostic of the family, as well as the white ring around the eye and the throat. There we go, off they go. So there's a nice little quiz to get going on this sunrise safari. It might be a bit grey, and so is that bird, but let's see who can figure out which bird that is. So if you can identify that particular bird, pop me an email, questions@wildearth.tv, or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. But let's go see what else is out and about. So I was out a bit earlier tracking, and we did find Tingana's tracks. Now, I know a few of you might have seen on the dam cam last night. Tingana, being a male leopard, marched right through the center of Djuma last night and went into Torchwood. So unfortunately, he has absconded. And I just heard over the radio now that cheetah we were all desperately searching for yesterday has been spotted. A very unrelaxed male cheetah. And it ran into Buffalo's Hook, and it was spotted by Taxon. So unfortunately, that's gone. So let's hope that something else is moving. I'm hoping this cool weather might prompt Karula to do a bit of a meander towards us. So we're going to head down towards the southern boundary and go have a look around there. This cold front just pulled in from nowhere. And it was beautiful, sunny this morning, and then I was driving west along the northern boundary, and lovely light in front of me, and then as we turned the corner and looked behind, we just saw this wall of cloud creeping in. And the temperature actually dropped. It's probably colder now than it was a bit earlier. So Jennifer was wondering, and as I was explaining about those leopard tracks, it's more than likely Tingana, dominant male, calling in this area and popping up on the Djuma dam cam as one of his favorite little spots to stop for a drink on his way through. And it was definite, well, not definitely, but I'm pretty sure it was Tingana. I haven't seen any of the screenshots yet, but he's moved straight through to Torchwood on a route that he uses often. So I'm quite confident, I'm 98% sure it was Tingana. Oh, hello. Wildly beasts up ahead. It's amazing how quickly they grow. I mean, those two on the right, or actually the three on the right, there's an adult female off to the left there, but those are all this year's baby. Look how big they've got and how quickly. And another name for the blue wildebeest is also the brindled gnu. And you can see that sort of striping on the neck. And that's one of the things that leads to their name. So what that is actually just a little bit of longer hair around the neck area that gives that sort of stripy effect. And even more noticeable in the early morning is they're trying to puff it up to get a little bit of warmth and create that little insulative blanket. Fortunately for wildebeest, they're not as furry as the others, so it's not as easy for them to create that blanket. Now, I wonder where the rest of the herd are. They could be around off to the right, and they're the first moving out of the thickets onto the clearing this morning. Well, what have you spotted, VM? More wildebeest. There we go. So there they are. And there's some zebras in there as well, it looks like. More zebras. You on the zebras, well, there. And just see some stripes through there. A little to the right. There we go. You can see it.
Not from my angle.
Not from your angle. Now let's move forward a skosh. Now, it's not uncommon to find wildebeest and zebra together. Now, wildebeest actually quite like hanging with zebra because they're bulk grazers and they keep the grass really short. And wildebeest are very specialist grazers and they only eat certain grass species and it has to be short. So they'll actually fussily feed between the different grasses. There we go. Here comes. And there's the rest of the herd with the zebras just behind them. So Hitzman is wondering, how big do wildebeest herds get? Now, with a lot of animals, it's rather area specific rather than species specific. The biggest group of wildebeest I've seen in the Greater Kruger is probably around 60 or so on the basalt plains around Satara. But as one knows, the blue wildebeest that take part in the Great Migration between Tanzania and Kenya, there's about 1.2 million in that group, so massive. Now, even within that group, there will be smaller nuclei sort of herds with a bull, but in this area, they don't really get too big. Sabi Sands, the biggest I've seen is around 30. It is amazing how quickly those babies grow. Now, even though that those little ones are still eating grass, they have quite a long weaning process in comparison to other antelope. So they will still sometimes be taking milk at this age, to about 7 or 8 months. Oh, itchy bottom. Now, wildebeest are often called the clowns of the bushveld as well. And when they are in a playful mood, it is just spectacular to watch as they chase each other up and down. Oh, sorry about that. There's a little bit of a loose connection on my earpiece, so I missed that. Can you hear them there?
Yes.
Okay, I got nothing. So Gail, Deborah, and Marcel say it was a flycatcher for the bird quiz. You are correct, but guys, which flycatcher is it? If you know which flycatcher it is, that's what I'm looking for. Which specific species of flycatcher did we see a short while ago? But, well, let's leave the wildebeest to move out onto the open clearings of quarantine. And I did hear some elephants earlier, so I'm going to go and see if we can find those. Okay, so what's going to be out under the cloudy skies? I'm hoping for some ellies. And there was a herd around Gowrie Cutline earlier, so we're going to go move into that area, see if we can find the elephants. Okay, so but before we do that, let's put the bird quiz to bed, so to speak. So Justin and James Richard say a dusky flycatcher. Oh, are you guys right? I wonder. So here we go. Let's just get the flycatchers out quickly. And that's chagras. Okay. And it should be the next page. Now, the reason it is an African dusky flycatcher, and you were correct. So I told you, we saw those little feathers there that almost look like whiskers, the white throat, and the white around the eye. So well done, guys, the African dusky flycatcher. And other thing it lacked, it didn't have any white windows in the wings, so that rules out, where is he now? The ashy flycatcher. Also, ashies are a bit smaller. But they do also have that white eye ring, but the ashy is generally around drainage lines and places like that. African dusky we can find all over the place. Well, after flycatchers, it seems like Jamie is taking up the birding mantle, and she's got bird to show you.
Well, the temperature has dropped dramatically, and we're not the only ones who are feeling it. And this poor dark chanting goshawk, oh my word, at some point my speech patterns will normalize. A dark chanting goshawk is sitting huddled very firmly on the top of this dead tree, using it as a useful vantage point. We may well have seen this individual goshawk before. That incredible sighting with Brent where it caught a snake right on in front of the camera. They are relatively territorial, so there's a good chance of seeing one in the same position, we're very close to where he had that sighting. Now, yesterday you had that sighting with the honey badgers and with Sam, an extraordinarily rare occurrence. There's a very interesting connection between goshawks and honey badgers. Now, most of you will have heard the story of the honey guide, a type of bird that is actually capable of digesting beeswax. Now, the honey guide is famous for leading animals like honey badgers to bee hives, and they basically use the honey badger as a way to break it open, and then they feast on whatever leftovers are left behind. And the fork-tailed drongo comes in for the attack. They are such brave little birds, fork-tailed drongos. Never miss a chance to bother a bird of prey. Now, is he going to go in again? And while we wait in eager anticipation to see what this fork-tailed drongo is going to decide to do, I was going to say that goshawks also have a very similar relationship with honey badgers. Not quite the same as the bird that's known as a honey guide, but the honey badger and the pale chanting goshawk, which is a bird that we don't really get in this area, but it's very closely related to the dark chanting goshawk. They have a very close relationship. You'll find them associating together. Because the honey badger is such a ferocious and successful little hunter, the goshawks often follow behind to pick up the scraps, but they can also lead honey badgers to potential prey. And there's a little animal connection I bet not many of you had thought about or heard about before. What are you thinking, Drongo? Are you going to go in, or are you satisfied that you've established your dominance? For a tiny bird, the fork-tailed drongo definitely does not lack any courage. And just while we're sitting here, it just goes to show the value of spending a little bit of time sitting nice and quietly in the bush, because we've got some interesting things happening, and we've got another animal association playing out right in front of us. And that is between the yellow-billed hornbill, that is currently pecking away at whatever scraps they can find in the road. And then, if we look carefully, every now and again you'll see the flash of movement. That is a dwarf mongoose. There's another 2 species with a very, very... Ooh, it's an upset elephant around quarantine. So another animal that has a very close bond. Again, the hornbills taking advantage of the dwarf mongoose's prowess at hunting, picking up any scraps that they may leave behind. And in return, they provide an extra set of eyes that is capable of being at a slightly higher level than that of a dwarf mongoose. And the relationship has reached the point to such an extent that an associating group of hornbills and mongoose, if the mongoose are not up yet, the hornbills have been recorded to go to the entrance of the burrow where they saw the mongoose going to sleep and calling, making a racket until the mongoose wake up. And if the mongoose emerge and discover that their hornbill friends are not around to help keep them safe, then they show a great reluctance to leave their burrows until the hornbills have arrived. Another special little relationship that plays out in this area. See if we can't get a little bit closer now that those dwarf mongoose are starting to emerge. They've had a nice long lie-in this morning. Since it is really cold, the mist feels as though it's going to rain, which would be unusual but not totally unheard of in winter. Morning. Anybody home? I know somebody's home because I saw you. There is a head poking out on the right-hand side of that dead log, believe it or not, right at the base. There you go. Hello. We've spotted you, despite your best efforts. And we can tick 2 mongoose species off for this morning's drive. Playing peekaboo. And in winter, dwarf mongoose are very reluctant to leave the warmth and relative safety of their termite mound homes. It's just a bit cold for them. And it's nice and warm in the termite mounds. There we go. Getting a little bit braver. Out you come. Don't know where the rest of them are. This is obviously the early riser. The early mongoose catches the scorpion. Or something to that effect. And since it's decided to disappear, let's go from one very tiny animal to one exceptionally large one.
So those ellies we could hear were right where we thought they would be. It seems like quite a big breeding herd spread through the bush. Yum, yum, bush willow. So it is wonderful at the moment. We hear elephants throughout the night, and it is just one of the best sounds in the world to go to sleep to. Breaking of branches, rumble of communication. That's definitely one of the quintessential African bush sounds, that low. There's a little one. Just behind Mom. Hopefully they're going to move through into a bit more open area. They are slowly moving in the direction of the Juma waterhole. Probably about 600 meters from there at the moment. But the herd is quite spread out. We can hear them all around us. At the moment, we've only got a really good visual of these two. You can see the very, let me just maybe move forward a tiny bit. There we go. Now she's going to move. Here's the little one. And I was trying to show you Mom's touch. Let's try maybe go backwards rather than forwards. We got a hole there, Vam? So if we look at her left tusk, oh, there's a little one in front as well. Hey, mister, we'll look at your mom's tusk after we finish. There it is, there's that rumble. Wow. So incredible. What are you up to, little horror? That's incredible. A baby elephant at birth is still 100 kilograms. I mean, that's massive. So over 200 pounds at birth. Not something you can sort of pick up and take home with you. Oh, sorry, I'm having a bit of trouble with my comms, but let's jump across to Jamie while we try fix it.
Look at this incredible moth that Dave has just found. Oh, don't go just yet. I will let you go in a moment. It's incredibly bright pink. Wow. I have absolutely no idea what this is, and I have certainly never encountered one. But it is so beautiful. The most incredible bright pink color. It's now frantically flapping its wings. Oh, there it goes. That was so beautiful. I don't know if you could see, but its wings were actually transparent. It had transparent eyes on the outer edges of its wings, and then that incredibly vibrant neon pink color. Now, if any of you have any idea what that particular moth species is, I sort of initially thought of one of the burnet families. We've seen the firegrid burnet moth, but is that part of the burnet family or not? I know some of you actually have a really sort of interesting fascination with moths in particular. That's how we identified many, many months ago the thin marbled lichen moth that we discovered on the vehicle. So if any of you have any idea what particular moth that was, please send that through on #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@wildearth.tv. I think it's safe to say it's a diurnal moth. It's a daytime moth. It's out and about at this time. Most of the nocturnal moths are sleeping. So while you ponder that, I'm going to send you back to Brent.
Look at that. VM spotted a spider web just in front of the ellie there. We're trying to see it. We can't see the spider in the web. And still, incredible patterns upon patterns. And there, look at that, look at that. Oh. So, if you've ever seen sort of a dry lake or a dry pan, that crisscrossed baked mud, elephant skin sort of always gives me that impression of a sort of a dry lake. Incredibly thick and tough. That skin is probably about 5 centimeters, 6 centimeters thick. Try and move back a little bit. Let's see if we can get a better view. How's that, Vin? Looks like the little one's about to have a drink. Well, it is having a drink, just unfortunately on the wrong side of Mom. So I heard you saw an incredible moth with Jamie in a pinkish color. Now, I'm just going to call Jamie on the radio because I think I might know what it is. Jamie. Jamie, if you've got the insect book there, have a look for, I think it's the Shea defoliator, or the Latin is Ciria, C-I-R-I-A. Oh, and the Ellies are going off into the thickets, so we're going to chance our luck and head down Twin Dams, and fingers crossed, Queen Karula has decided during this cool morning to move back onto Djuma. Now, of course, I am the eternal optimist. I always believe we're going to find a cat, even if there's no sign of a cat, so it's always worth having a second look. Hi, Joey from Australia. Joey is your nickname because you look like a baby kangaroo, or is it Joseph? Only joking. Joey would like to know whether a kudu or nyala or impala would alarm call one of the smaller cats like serval or caracal. And they would. And sometimes I have seen impala get very confused and alarm at a serval thinking it's possibly a leopard. So it does happen. Especially if the cat's moving through some slightly thicker bush, and they just sort of catch glimpses of it. Oh, very chilly. Well, we have a vast amount of different fauna and flora. And Dylan in Iowa is asking specifically about the flora and is asking whether we get any fir trees or conifers in South Africa. Not indigenous like they are in the States, but there are actually pine trees and fir trees that are grown commercially for wood. And there is one or two indigenous conifers, if I remember correctly, in the Eastern Cape Mountains. They don't look the same as the fir trees, but they are conifers. And then if you head further north in Africa, oh, is it Nelson? It's Nelson. I thought he was dead. And keeping his blind eye, he's a bit jumpy. The impala with one eye, one horn, and one ambition to avoid Karula. And he seems to be doing it quite well. I really thought he had been eaten by now. Oh, off you go, Nelson. Be careful. Sorry about that, didn't I? Got very excited. I haven't seen Nelson in a few months.
Unless that's a new Nelson.
Unless there's a new Nelson with one eye, one horn, but it's unlikely. But as I said, if we move further into North Africa, specifically the northern highlands of Ethiopia, there are indigenous cypress. I think they're called the mountain cypress, which is a conifer. Oh, hello. More elephants. Young Ellie Bull. Hello, mister. You can see he's thinking about giving us a head shake. I'm going to wait till we go past him. Very normal elephant bull behavior. No, he's not. He's decided we're not worth shaking his head at. He's probably trailing that breeding herd we've just seen, but staying on the peripheries. And then you can see into his ear, it looks like he's been sprayed a bit of mud in there at some point. Still a bit damp. And there you can see that white around the corner of the eyes, which is quite common at this time of the year. And it's all the dust buildup and oh, look at that. You can see right in there. And that's just the eye expelling the dust. Apparently, Dangerous Dave and Jamie were sneezing quite heavily earlier from the dust. Oh, we just got a glimpse of his pink tongue in there. Look at that. Not every day you get to see an elephant's tongue. Hey, mister. He's eating a monkey orange tree, which is something they don't normally eat too often unless there's very little else around. So we will see elephants eating quite a few different species that wouldn't be their first choice normally due to the drought. Just try to reverse a little bit. Always remember, let your engine run for a second before moving. How's that, Viam? Better? Oh. So Dave in Indiana is wondering, do we have yellowwood trees in South Africa? We do, Dave. It's one of our protected species. It used to grow quite extensively in the Mistbelt region of South Africa. Now the Mistbelt is an area between the high veld and the low veld, the edge of the middle veld. And it has obviously got a higher rainfall than everywhere else, and you get these incredible forests. And a lot of those forests get their moisture from the mist, hence the name the mist belt. And yellowwoods are common there. The early European settlers cut down most of the yellowwoods. They're incredibly beautiful and durable wood. Oh, and let's look at those toenails. Look at that. Isn't it incredible having this new super zoom? You get to see stuff and you really only normally see when an animal's sedated. Massive shock absorbers inside the elephant's foot. The sort of spongy cartilaginous area that acts as a shock absorber to carry that elephant's great weight. But sorry, Dave, back to your yellowwood question. And the early settlers used to use yellowwoods for beams in their houses, tables, chairs. So it's a protected species. You're not allowed to cut it down at all anymore. But it is absolutely this beautiful, beautiful wood. My parents have a massive yellowwood table that my dad got made out of beams saved from an old farmhouse in the Eastern Cape. So there used to be the roof beams, the support beams for the house, and we had a table made out of it, and it is an exquisite table. What are you eating in there? You just see his trunk sniffing around, trying to find the exact piece he wants, because it's a little thicket. There's a couple of different species of tree in there. I can't see exactly which tree he's going for, but I suspect it could be the spike thorn. I doubt it's the tamburti. And he's done, and off he goes. And he's about to head into a little river system. It's going to be very thick, so let's let him continue on his way. More elephants. James Richard is wondering if I've ever seen an elephant root tree. James, I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. Maybe if you send me the first part of the scientific name, it might give me a better idea. Common names are often not a good way to go by because the trees can be called different things in different areas. Oh, we flew away. Oh, we're going to land somewhere. So, a pretty little bird I'm trying to show you quickly. Where did he go? There he is. Oh. We got him there. Yeah. Keeps flitting away. And we're still surrounded by elephants. Hello, little one. Coming to give us an inspection. I mean, we've been going for about 1.5 kilometers now, and literally on both sides of the road, there are just elephants the whole way through. I can hear the little bird I'm trying to show you. Can't see him just yet. He disappeared into this little leadwood here. I think he's gone out the other side. Yeah, well, we continue to search for that little bird, which unfortunately has done a disappearing act. Let's go to Steph, who's got a little tiny insect.
Here's a brilliant example of flash coloration for you. I was just busy getting something out of my backpack and this little grasshopper jumped onto my shorts. And there you can see that there's red on the back of his legs. I'm not holding him very tight at all. He can move, but you can see the red on the back of his legs over there. That is what a predator would see as this grasshopper was jumping away from it. This brilliant flash of red. It would then land and it would immediately disappear into the undergrowth. I'm going to put him down here. He's probably going to jump away. But there you go. Have a look at how camouflaged that guy has just turned into the sticks over there. Right where my finger is a grasshopper with those brilliant red legs. Flash coloration gives the predator a bit of a startle, boom, and then all of a sudden it disappears again and blends completely into the undergrowth. There with these. Amazing, isn't it? These grasshoppers are really something phenomenal. I see right around it, we've got quite an interesting thing over here. We've got a young hairy caterpillar pod here. And while these trees are quite common out here, not often copper genus and where it gets its name from. They are the hairy caterpillar pods. Quite nice, eh? This tree used widely amongst the local population over here as a little bit of an aphrodisiac remedy. Or not remedy, as an aphrodisiac. It's mixed into a drink, an elixir, for lack of a better word, that they then drink, and it's supposed to fortify you as a man. And then I picked some of this a little bit earlier. This is one of my favorite grasses. I've had it in my pocket for a while. This is turpentine grass. What this grass does is it has an oil in it, an essential oil, turpentine oil. And literally just doing that and placing that under the kindling of your fire catches a spark with a piece of flint unbelievably well. That turpentine oil that's in here is an incredibly flammable oil, and you'll use that as a bit of fire starting material when you're trying to make a fire out here. Being a hero and not bringing a box of matches or a lighter or some other modern marvel that we'd use in normal camping and outdoor wilderness trails, you can use this. But it has the most unbelievably nice smell. Oh, it's a little bit intense, I must be honest with you. I'm going to give it to Jean-Andre to smell because it's obviously I can put on a show, but you can't. I'm going to give you the camera over here. You're going to see Jean-Andre's face.
I haven't done my makeup stuff.
Have a smell of that. Strong, eh? Jean-Andre's not impressed with me for hijacking his camera. I suppose it'll be the same as him hijacking my rifle. Let's carry on going. We're in quite a botanically rich part of the reserve at the moment. As you can see, just from this very patch of bush that we got going on over here, we've actually got quite a lot of trees. We've got this one here is the common spike thorn. We then have a dead knob thorn that was pushed over by an elephant. Right here we've got a white berry bush, which is this one. And then here we have a round leaf teak, or round leaf bloodwood, is this one right here. And then this one right here is a guarri, Euclea divinorum. So 4 or 5 different species and a porcupine bush. So 4 or 5 different species of trees that we have right over here. I mean, all in this little area, and that's because we're right on the edge of a drainage line, and on the edge of a drainage line is where the sandy soils start giving way to clay soils. Clay soils and are actually quite good at harboring trees. They relinquish their water quite hard, but trees have got the ability to then get that water out of that clay and dry up enough for you to get a good germination of trees, as you can see over here. Let's carry on going. See what we can get out of this patch of bush. Aaron has asked me a nice question. With the lack of rain, are we likely to see more animals that we don't usually see? Aaron, I'm going to say yes to that. There is a herd of sable antelope that occurs along the eastern boundary of the Sabi Sands, here in the northern Sabi Sands, that we share between Manyeleti, basically the Manyeleti Game Reserve, the Kruger National Park and the Sabi Sands. And with the Kruger National Park over the last couple of years having closed down all their watering points on their western boundary, on our eastern boundary, animals like sable are being drawn to water points inside the Sabi Sands. And although we saw one I think it was a couple of months ago in actual fact on the show, we managed to quickly get a fleeting glimpse of a sable. I predict that we're going to be seeing more and more sable as this drought progresses, and as the sable need to come closer and closer to water, or basically come to water closer and closer to the camps that we've got over here. So I predict sable, that's what I'm going to say, and probably an increase in cheetah and wild dog sightings as well. They also tend to do quite well in drier conditions. They're a little bit more drought hardy at least than what lion and leopard are. Hope that answered your question, Aaron. And while we thread our way through this forest over here, Jamie's got a mongoose that's quickly going to go there quickly before it runs away.
We have a slightly more awake group of dwarf mongoose, although there's still some late risers who are showing a little bit of reluctance to go wandering out and about. Most of the family, though, has started dashing off in their foraging directions. Remember how we were talking about the relationship with the dwarf mongoose and the hornbill? Well, there's another little bird that's joined in, and it is sitting on the branch just to the left of the group. I don't know if you can see the drongo. There you go, the drongo there. And sort of there. There's a fork-tailed drongo, and if you watch it flapping about, you'll see every now and again it ducks down and searches for any scraps that the mongoose might have disturbed. Now, most of you are aware of the fork-tailed drongo's incredible mimicking abilities. It's one of the best mimics in the bush. And there's the famous story of the drongos in the Kalahari that have learned to imitate meerkat alarm calls. And they not only imitate them, but of course a meerkat has about 14, 15 different alarm calls. One that says, come here, there's a snake. Another that says, look out, there's an eagle about to take your head off. Those kinds of alarm calls. And they all mean different things. And some can just mean stand still, and others can mean dash for safety immediately. And fork-tailed drongo has worked out, or a couple of fork-tailed drongos in the Kalahari have worked out which call means what. And they imitate the one that means drop everything and run for cover. And they'll imitate that alarm call because, of course, a meerkat sentry never lies. And then they will take advantage of whatever food the meerkat have left behind. It's not a far stretch to imagine that a fork-tailed drongo has learned to do the same thing with a group of dwarf mongoose like these. I've never seen it in practice, but I suspect that it does occur. And maybe as we go into the drier months, as things get a little bit tough out here, and the fork-tailed drongo, being a non-migratory bird, will have to tough it out with the rest of the mammal species. Perhaps we will get to see that kind of thing in action. That would be incredible. Imagine if we got to witness that. Be one of the first people in the world to see an interaction like that. For now, though, the dwarf mongoose happily reliant on the true alarm calls of the fork-tailed drongo. That is, of course, when they decide to leave the safety of home and comfort. And I don't blame them, quite frankly, because it really is very chilly this morning. If I had a nice warm termite mound to hide in, I might also be reluctant to leave. I've spent a lot of time with dwarf mongoose over the last few drives, and they're always enjoyable. They're always up to something different. And their balance is also always impressive, and one perching on the top of the termite mound. We're going to leave our dwarf mongoose family to go about their morning business. In the meantime, Steph has found some interesting, very small insects behaving interestingly.
Have a look at this very unusual sighting that we've got of some polyrhynchus ants busy tending to their flock of aphids. Obviously, over the last couple of days, I don't know this tree, I haven't seen it, but over the last couple of days, a small family of aphid have moved into this tree and have now been found by a colony of polyrhynchus ant. And one worker would have found, or forager would have found this colony, would have milked some honeydew from them, gone back to his nest and called all his friends. And now we've got all the worker polyrhynchus ant that have come onto this tree and are busy tending to these aphids. And basically what they're doing is the aphids live on tree sap. The tree sap is very low in nutrition. And so what happens is the aphid has to produce, or has to suck up quite a lot of tree sap to get the nutrients that it needs. It then exudes honeydew almost on request from the ants. The ants will tickle it. You can see there how the ants are using their antennae to stroke the aphid, who will produce a drop of honeydew which the ant will then suck up. Have a look at that. And then use for their own nourishment. Now, the aphids benefit because the ants protect the aphids. The ants benefit because the aphid provides basically a form of sustenance for it. But it's very, very rare to come across something like this in this area. I've only seen it literally once or twice in my whole guiding career. These polyrhynchus ants, they're actually fantastic animals. One of the more primitive of the ants, quite slow moving, live in colonies with a thatched entrance. Won't be too far away from where we're standing at the moment. probably at the base of one of these trees, is this colony. They would have sent out, they forage singularly. So one worker would have left the colony and would have gone in search of some food and bumped into this. There we go. You see how the ants had that very big reaction. So there you go. You got a prime example of how they protect their aphid flock. The tree was bumped, and all of a sudden they went from tending mode to attack mode. You can see that ant just getting ready. Now back to the aphid, tickling that aphid with their antennae. Ant is still a bit wary. There we go. Those aphids have got their own camouflage. They almost look like little mini thorns. And quite a lot of ants. This is about as big as what the Polyrhynchus ant colony gets. About 50 to sort of 70, 80 individuals. But while these ants are going nowhere with their little aphid flock, the tiny little elephant that Brent is with will go across and have a look at him.
Look at this. And they've moved out into the open, so we went and checked the boundary quickly, nothing there. The ellies have come out of the thickets, and we are busy being stalked by what looks to be a little boy. And I love it when they do this. They sort of pretend they're not. He's definitely watching us, and he's trying to give us a smell. But I think he's going to wait for the females to get a bit closer. Vim, should we put the VR on? Oh, look at that, like a gunshot. Branch breaking. So you're going to hear a few little beep, 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 beeps. So we're just going to put the virtual reality rig on because I think these ellies are going to come really close to the car.
Only picking up 6 cam.
Oh dear.
Having trouble with one.
It seems like with virtual reality, one's not really working, so don't worry about what I said about the beeps. There must be, just from where I'm sitting, I can see probably 30, 35 elephants, and I can hear a lot more around. Here comes a big cow. And another cow coming off to the left. We're about to be enveloped. Hello, madam. Oh, she's got a big rip in her right hand here. There we go. Hello, little. We're still being stalked. There's just elephants everywhere. Hello, you two. Some sort of injury on the trunk there. Yes. Hello, little one. Yes, we're very scary. We were shivering in our boots. Isn't that wonderful? Here comes another big female. I don't want to move the vehicle just yet while they're walking towards us. Absolutely magical. Hello, madam. Hello, big lady. So I'm just talking very quietly. The elephants are very close to us. She is literally about 3 feet from the left-hand side of our vehicle. And see, she stopped to have a snack. Almost zero interest, actually zero interest in us. Hey, big girl. So special. So I'm just going to let her walk off a little bit, and then I'm going to move down onto the road where all the babies went. Let's see how far she is. Let's give her a little bit more space. And now, letting the car run here is even more important, just because there's so many females and babies around. Any too sudden movements or that brrr and then immediate movement might cause a negative reaction. You just go slowly. They should be 100% fine. Hello, little boy. What? No head shake? No trumpet? There's a half-hearted little trumpet. That sounded like from one of the little guys. Ah, there they are. Little gang. 3 of them, and they're playing with each other through there. That's where the little trumpet came from. Oh, Vim, we're being attacked. Another little boy coming through, shaking his head at us. And we go around the bush, attack us from around the bush. Yes. Oh, there's some interesting behavior going on there. Let's go up there. Looks like some... Oh, yes, to you too. Oh, elephants everywhere. We've got traffic jam. I'm trying to get to where there's 2 elephant bulls fighting. Young bulls. You just see them creating a huge amount of dust. And rushing into each other. I mean, just look at this. There's just elephants everywhere. Hello, naughty. Okay, you can see between these 2, there's just this dust storm. And there are those 2 young bulls at the back chasing each other. And you can see the remnants of the dust, those 2. They're the ones who looked like they were causing lots of nonsense with each other. So that's why we rushed over here quickly. This is, when they do start this playing, it's really, really fun. Let's try and move forward a little bit now that the others have passed us. Oh dear. There we go. So, I'm just going to move again. There's 2. Charge on. There's more elephants coming down the road. They're just literally elephants everywhere. Put ourselves in the best spot where we can see as many... Oh, no, that's just too nice to miss. Oh, and there's fighting next to us. It's all going on here. It's just... I love it. The sort of elephant parade when they walk in a group like this and they're coming straight towards us. So we're just going to switch off and stay right here. Look at the little guy in the middle. We'll find a nice snack on the way. It's literally everywhere. We don't know where to look. Now these two are at it again. Look at this. This is just incredible. Absolutely magic. Now we're going to have to keep very still now as the herd passes on both sides of us. It's so amazing. Hey guys. Isn't this just the best? Oh. Yes, you're very scary. Wow. Oh, there's just something incredible about being able to sit there and be listen to them surrounded by elephants. Let's get a view of them. We're coming towards the end of the sunrise safari, but what a spectacular ending it's been. I mean, there must be close on 100 elephants in this area, and they're just so special. There we go. I'm going to watch their bums breathe as we end off the show. So from Steph, Jamie, myself, and Sam, hopefully Sam will be feeling a bit better soon. But I think it's going to be Jamie and I on the sunset safari. But for the last few seconds, let's look at these great grey backsides disappear.
Thanks. Show's just ended, but that's